Coming up on Global Business, innovation-focused Chinese President Xi Jinping stresses reform and innovation as he wraps up his inspection tour to central China's Hunan province. Spending surge. The Chinese economy is currently witnessing a significant increase in government spending, according to latest data unveiled at a government press briefing on Thursday. And rate decision. Bank of England keeps key interest rates steady as inflation remains well above target, despite a recent slowing. Hello and welcome to this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Guan Xing in Beijing. First up in the program, President Xi Jinping has called on central China's Hunan province to stay committed to reform and innovation. He urged the province to follow a realistic and pragmatic approach to write its own chapter in advancing Chinese modernization. And Xi Jinping made the remarks during an inspection tour this week.
On Monday, Xi Jinping inspected Hunan First Normal University in the provincial capital Changsha, where he visited an exhibition featuring Mao Zedong in his youth and chatted with students and faculty members. He stressed the roles of schools in fostering virtue among students and guiding them to serve the country. Later, he inspected a Chinese-German joint venture producing battery materials. He said innovation in science and technology and high-quality development are the key to enterprises' growth and success. He said China will continue to open its door wider to the world and welcome more foreign companies to invest and develop in China. On Tuesday, Xi Jinping stopped at the historical Changde Riverside Street in Changde City. He spoke with shopkeepers and tourists, appreciating the area's cultural heritage and traditional crafts. And he emphasized the importance of preserving rich local cultures for both society's progress and economic development. Later, he visited Guangzhongping village in Dingcheng district, where he examined grain production and the progress of spring plowing. He underscored the key role of agricultural modernization and food security for China, stressing the need for high-quality grain production. At a local grain grower's home, Xi discussed strategies to strengthen agricultural efficiency and governance at the grassroots level. He called for less formalism and bureaucracy to ensure practical achievements for the rural population. On Thursday, Xi attended a meeting with the Communist Party's Hunan Provincial Committee and the People's Government of Hunan Province. In his address, he emphasized the key role of science and technology in economic growth, calling for increased integration of innovation with industrial development and highlighting the pivotal role of businesses in this process. He stressed the importance of combining innovative ideas, industrial strength, financial resources, and talent to transform scientific discoveries into economic benefits, particularly in key industries and manufacturing. He underscored the need for comprehensive reforms to address development challenges and promote social equity and justice. And he recognized Hunan's vital role in national economic integration, its participation in the Belt and Road Initiative, and its role in fostering economic ties between China and Africa. On rural revitalization, Xi stressed food security and the modernization of agriculture, advocating the development of a specialized agricultural sector and the balanced growth of urban and rural areas. Culturally, Xi emphasized the perseverance of revolutionary history and the promotion of patriotism, calling for a fusion of culture with technology and tourism. Lastly, he highlighted the importance of strengthening party discipline and governance, focusing on a disciplined administration that effectively meets the people's needs and interests.
The Chinese economy is currently experiencing a significant uptake in both investment and loan demand amid increasing government spending, as highlighted by representatives from 3 economic regulatory bodies during a media briefing earlier today. In the January to February period compared to the previous year, fixed asset investment grew by 4.2%, with an even more impressive growth rate of almost 9% when excluding real estate investment. The Vice Minister of the Ministry of Finance revealed an unprecedented front-loading of fiscal spending, injecting more than 4.3 trillion yuan, or nearly 1/6 of the entire year's general public budget expenditure into stimulating the economy. Additionally, on the monetary policy front, China has strategically directed funds towards sectors with new growth drivers, as evidenced by the substantial growth of medium and long-term loans to the entire manufacturing sector and high-tech enterprises, both surging over 25% by the end of February.
去年增发的1万亿国债
Altogether, the debt issuance amounts to over 6 trillion yuan from diverse funding sources. Last year, China witnessed the issuance of 1 trillion yuan in government bonds, and this year, an additional 1 trillion yuan in ultra-long special bonds. Additionally, the NDRC has earmarked 700 billion yuan for investments, and local governments have collectively issued 3.9 trillion yuan in bonds. These comprehensive measures have effectively supported investment growth while ensuring careful allocation across sectors.
结构不断优化。
今年呢，这个赤字率按3%安排。
This year's deficit to GDP ratio is fixed at 3%, translating to a fiscal deficit of 4.06 trillion yuan. The figure was up by 180 billion yuan compared to the budget from a year ago. We reckon this to be a reasonable debt level, sufficient to stimulate the economy while ensuring medium and long-term fiscal sustainability.
有利于实现我们财政中长期的可持续性。
Also, at a media briefing, a Chinese central bank official said there is still room for further reserve requirement ratio cuts.
China still has potential for further reductions in the reserve requirement ratio, as it maintains ample monetary policy flexibility and a wide range of tools. The People's Bank of China foresees increased independence in monetary policy making, especially as central banks in major economies adjust their monetary stances. China is dedicated to reducing financing costs to facilitate the growth of high-end manufacturing and the digital economy.
A panel of leading experts gathered in Beijing to discuss the future of the Chinese economy. The meeting was arranged by the China Public Diplomacy Association. It focused on Beijing's drive to achieve high-quality development. And Zhang Siran has the details.
Addressing a group of international journalists, experts from the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences explained Beijing's current priorities and its wide-ranging efforts to take its economy to the next level.
第一就是推动需求扩容体制和结构升级。
The top priority is the expansion of demand and the structural upgrade. We focus on expanding domestic demand and emphasize macro control. Investment will be equally distributed among people and goods. Secondly, the goal is to develop a better supply structure. This means accelerating scientific and technological innovation, especially the new quality productive forces. Lastly, the goal is to enhance the efficiency structure by maintaining reform and opening up and releasing economic potential.
Taking the global economic recovery into account, the panel also agrees that high-quality development in China is key to future growth.
中国产业高质量发展对世界的积极的贡献。
China's high-quality industrial development positively impacts the world in many ways. First, it is able to provide better products and services for the global market. The high-quality development of China's economy has also driven global technological progress and promoted solid cooperation in the global industrial chain.
Experts say new quality productive forces will play an important role in steering China's high-quality development. China's contribution to world economic growth exceeded 30% in 2023, and it will continue to be the largest engine driving the global economy. Zhang Siran, CGTN, Beijing.
And now for more discussions on China's latest economic data, I want to bring in Liu Qing, Associate Professor of School of Economics and Management at Tsinghua University. Thank you for joining us, Professor Liu. So what are the key insights derived from the latest first quarter economic data and their implications for the economic outlook?
Okay, thanks. Well, I would say that the first quarter of China's economy shows signals of both progress and challenges. On the good side, the economy demonstrated stable growth in the first quarter, characterized by a steady industry production and consumer demand, stable employment, rising consumer prices, and the continuous expansion of new economic drivers and high-tech industries. However, we should also notice that even though the retail sales and fixed asset investment exceed expectation, and surely there is economic rebound and resilience, consumer confidence has slowed, and there are notable decreases in the new enterprise loans. The unemployment rate is still as high as 5.3%. And there will be a record high number of college graduates entering the job market this year. So there are challenges. Call for the needs for policy support to boost domestic demand and ensure the continuous positive growth of the private investment.
And Professor Liu, the country is pretty much focusing on future drivers of the economy. How can the utilization of new quality productive forces be more effectively leveraged to propel economic growth?
Okay, that's a good question. Yeah, the new quality productivity has become a very hot topic in recent days. Almost every day you're talking about that. Well, developing new quality productivity focuses on the innovation in technology, economy, and business practice. Policies should encourage competition, support front-end innovation, and have mechanisms for exit and avoid endless subsidies. Moreover, to maintain a high level of openness is crucial for enhancing national innovation capability and developing new quality productivity. So given the increasing geopolitical tensions and the importance of national security, this openness is even more crucial. Sure, keeping the country safe is a must, but to move our economy to higher quality growth, we have to stay open, and this means being open not just to countries along the Belt and Road, but all the developing countries, but also perhaps more importantly, we should be open to developed countries. That's to my understanding. Thanks.
Well, Professor Liu, thank you for sharing with us. Please stay with us for more discussions later in the program. And now we're heading for a short break. Still to come on Global Business. Yuan Power. Latest data from SWIFT shows the Chinese yuan has maintained its position as the world's fourth most active currency after the UK pound, euro, and US dollar.
In response to global challenges and recognizing our shared destiny, we must promote peace, development, and cooperation. Addressing common challenges and fulfilling our shared responsibilities. Join us at the Pu'ao Forum for Asia Annual Conference 2024.
Welcome back. The Chinese yuan maintained its position as the world's fourth most active used currency following the pound, euro, and US dollar in February. According to the latest data from global payment services provider SWIFT, the yuan accounted for 4% of global payments, surpassing the Japanese yen for the fourth consecutive month. This indicates a steady increase in the use of the Chinese currency for international transactions, reflecting the ongoing progress in yuan's internationalization and a positive outlook on the long-term development and momentum of the Chinese economy. And China's foreign trade kept growing last year as cross-border settlement evolves to back the growth. Our reporter Zhang Shixuan has the story.
In 2022, China's annual foreign trade volume exceeded the 40 trillion yuan mark for the first time. Last year, the country's annual foreign trade volume neared 42 trillion yuan, or some $5.8 trillion US. China is expected to remain the world's largest trading nation for the seventh consecutive year. That's laid a foundation for the growth in cross-border settlement services.
Our international settlement volume have witnessed a fast growth during the past 3 years. Last year alone, we completed $200 billion worth of cross-border settlement.
Part of that growth has come from the change in the foreign trade business. So in order to keep up with the increasing pace of trade, it's become a major task for banks and payment service providers to develop a safer online path.
Our clients may just see a simple website. All the paperwork has been digitalized. With tech development and the improvement in the banking system, the settlement can now be done within a day.
The payment service provider has served more than 300,000 Chinese exporters. There are now around 30 payment service providers here qualified for cross-border settlement. Even e-commerce platforms now offer the settlement service on their own. They serve as a bridge between the banks, government departments, and the companies. Regulators and financial institutions have been working hard to make things even simpler for the regular, trustworthy traders.
Now, we verify some clients' basic information, and if they are approved by the State Administration of Foreign Exchange and the People's Bank of China, they can be included on the whitelist, and they can complete cross-border settlement the second they initiate the payment.
The Bank of Communications now supports 23 currencies exchange for spot settlement. All of this is aimed at helping trading companies make their payments more quickly and cheaply. And as trade grows, renminbi has witnessed a steady growth in use for cross-border settlements.
We can see that renminbi settlement with companies from countries along the Belt and Road Initiative, including Singapore and Indonesia, have increased significantly. And in recent years, thanks to the rapid development of the Bond Connect, our cross-border renminbi settlement has achieved great progress. Our cross-border renminbi settlement hit 1 trillion yuan in 2022.
Fresh data from the central bank showed renminbi cross-border settlement of trading goods reached 10.69 trillion yuan last year. That was more than a quarter of the total foreign trade value of trading goods for the year. Zhang Shixuan, ICS for CGTN, Shanghai.
And now for more insights on the internationalization of the Chinese yuan, let's bring back Liu Qing, Associate Professor of School of Economics and Management at Tsinghua University. Well, thank you for staying with us, Professor Liu. So what are the main takeaways from the most recent SWIFT data?
Okay, so the recent data shows that RMB share as a global payment reached to more than 4.5%, ranking the fourth in the world. It might seem like a very small number, but compared to the same time of last year, actually it more than doubled, which suggests the rising role of RMB as international payment currencies. Well, the growing importance of RMB as international payment is not surprising, The currency's ability to become an international currency depends on three factors: scale, liquidity, and credibility. The scale of the Chinese economy, the development of RMB offshore market, as well as the persistent economic growth all make RMB popular as choice of international payment. Meanwhile, recently, countries start to realize the downside of current US dominant payment system. This also contributes to the rising trend of RMB payment. Lastly, well, we have to admit that the number is still small, especially compared to US dollar and euro. So there's still a long way to go for RMB internationalization.
Professor Liu, in which areas has the internationalization of the Chinese yuan made significant advancements in recent years?
Yeah, so compared to Union of Account, RMB internationalization has made more progress on the other two dimensions. On the medium of exchange, as we discussed just now, the payment share of RMB is increasing rapidly. Now it's the major currencies. Well, 10 years ago, it's nothing. But in trade finance market, RMB ranks third globally, and it's very close to the second one, the euro. And there are currency swap agreements with central banks from 40 countries and regions. And China also established 31 RMB clearing banks across 29 countries and regions. And on the dimension of store of value, RMB entered into SDR basket in 2016 was a milestone. Now RMB SDR weight has increased to almost 13%. Moreover, RMB share as the reserve currency increased rapidly. At least 80 foreign central banks or monetary authorities now include RMB in their foreign exchange reserve, which is amazing.
And what are the primary focal points in driving the internationalization of the yuan forward?
Okay. Well, currency choice has very strong network effect. Currency internationalization will not naturally happen, even the economy become larger and more importantly. So the government has played a very important role. Well, during the past decades, Chinese government initiated a series of policy reforms, which work on both the RMB asset market as well as RMB international trade transaction. Well, we have done a very interesting research trying to evaluate Chinese government's policy quantitatively. And we show that the government policy is actually very effective and it contributes largely to the progress of RMB internationalization. To our understanding, the policy should contribute to work on multidimensionally. On the one side, they should continue work on the transaction part. So the currency swap line and the offshore RMB banks should continue to leverage the role of the RMB transaction. Meanwhile, we need to gradually liberalize the capital market. It's also very important, making RMB-dominated asset more appealing to foreign investors and ensure easier access. Furthermore, the cultivation of offshore RMB market is essential for providing additional offshore RMB liquidity and encouraging a broader global participation in the use of RMB.
Well, thank you so much for your insights. And that is Liu Qing, Associate Professor of School of Economics and Management at Tsinghua University for us. And now we're heading for another short break, still to come on Global Business. Rate decision. Bank of England keeps key interest rate steady as inflation remains well above target despite its recent slowing.
Here on Biz Talk, we connect the dots, shedding light on the real stories behind the economic landscape. To better understand China's dynamism and the economies and rhythms of business, propelling new drivers of growth.
China.
Biz Talk, your window into China and the global economy. Only on Biz Talk.
Welcome back. Bank of England has kept its benchmark interest rate unchanged at 5.25% following its policy meeting on Thursday. The decision aligns with expectations due to persistently high inflation well above the central bank's 2% target. This marks the fourth consecutive meeting where the British Central Bank has maintained steady rates. However, the lower than expected inflation data in February suggests that the central bank may begin reducing interest rates in the upcoming months. Moving on to some other headlines we're tracking at this hour. Norway Central Bank has maintained the benchmark interest rate at 4.5% as expected. And Norges Bank has indicated its intention to lower the cost of borrowing through a rate cut in the near future. Meanwhile, the Swiss National Bank has reduced its main interest rate by 25 basis points to 1.5%, citing an effective fight against inflation of the past 2.5 years. The unexpected decision also positions the Swiss National Bank as the first major monetary authority to implement a rate cut. And in South America, Brazil's central bank has reduced its key interest rate by half a percentage point for the sixth consecutive time. The benchmark Selic rate now stands at 10.75%. The Monetary Policy Committee of the central bank has indicated that it will continue to make similar reductions in the upcoming meetings. The U.S. Central Bank has left its benchmark interest rate unchanged again. Earlier, we spoke to William Li, chief economist at the Milken Institute, about why U.S. inflation has been reluctant to come down from 3% and his predictions for the future rate cuts.
The Fed staff and all economists are looking at the data and asking, why is it that inflation is coming down so slowly? A lot of the blame goes to rental housing, the way rental housing is recorded. But I think it goes beyond that, because the real concern at the FOMC table is what's happening with wages. Wages continue to be rising at a much faster pace than is sustainable for 2% inflation. And the real issue is the places where we see the accelerating prices are insurance costs, car maintenance costs, transportation costs, places where it's not so much the supply side, but it's the demand side. A lot of people need a lot of services, and there just aren't enough people with skills to provide those services, whether it's skilled doctors or skilled mechanics. I've been saying fairly consistently that we will not see a rate cut until the middle of this year, whether it's June or September. That depends on the data.
March 20th was celebrated by the United Nations as the International Day of Happiness. For some, the goal is all in the name, but according to the UN, happiness goes beyond just emotional well-being to include economic stability. This idea made us wonder, what role does income play on overall happiness? And Isabella Dias looks into it.
It's a question many of us have likely asked ourselves at one point or another. Can money buy happiness? Economists have put the question to the test before. In fact, the go-to study on income and happiness was published in 2010 by 2 Nobel Prize winners. Their research found a higher income could improve emotional well-being, but only to a point. The threshold being $75,000. That's equivalent to more than $107,400 worth of buying power today. But a new analysis published last spring and co-authored by one of those same economists suggests what many of us may have already guessed, but have been hard-pressed to prove. For most people, happiness goes up alongside your income. As for a threshold, the sky's the limit. In fact, the more content you already are to begin with, the more happy you're likely to feel once your paycheck goes up. But even here, there's an exception. If a person is well off and unhappy to begin with, no amount of extra money can make them happy. Still, some researchers say it's not that clear-cut. And it's not that money can in fact buy happiness, but rather it's the idea that money helps resolve or prevent everyday problems. Then again, it all might just be as simple as who you ask. According to the financial services firm Empower, 6 out of 10 Americans believe money can buy happiness, and even more millennials and Gen Zers live by that credo. As for the price tag on that happiness, the average American says a whopping $1.2 million would do the trick. Isabella Diaz, CGTN.
And that will do it for this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Guanxin in Beijing. Thank you for being with us. The Hub with Wang Guan is coming up next. Stay tuned.